Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Top 5. Ever notice that little logo on the front of your Dreamcast that says compatible with Windows CE? It's a common misconception that the Dreamcast ran this version of Windows as its operating system. This is actually not the case. This simply means that the Dreamcast was able to run the OS if the game developer chooses to use it. In the majority of cases, it was used as a way to easily port games from PC to Dreamcast. It was a very smart decision on Sega's part to include this compatibility, as it was responsible for bringing over 75 games to the platform that would have otherwise stayed as PC exclusives. That's not to say that all of these games are AAA must-have titles, but there were definitely some great games that utilized the Dreamcast Windows CE compatibility. In this video, I'll be showing you my personal top 5 Windows CE Dreamcast games. If you're a fan of Crazy Taxi, you're going to love this one. Super Runabout San Francisco Edition takes the craziness of the aforementioned game and ramps it up to 11. The game is made up of two groups of missions, one involving regular citizens of the city, and the other involving the police. No matter which group of people you're working for, the objectives are equally insane. You'll be doing everything from driving around the city looking for hot dog ingredients and destroying fake ambulances, to rescuing presidents and escaping from Alcatraz. This is all done within a large, open, and nicely detailed San Francisco. There are also plenty of objects to destroy and pedestrians you can run over. There's even a free roam mode which allows you to explore the city and cause destruction at your own leisure. The developers of the game were clearly reaching for a goal of over the top, and I think they definitely achieved that. After playing this, I'm starting to wonder if Crazy Taxi is really all that crazy in comparison. You might look at next Tetris and think, well, it's just another one of the million iterations of Tetris out there. And while technically that's true, in my opinion, this version of the classic puzzle game is one of the standouts. And I'm not just saying that because it's on my all-time favorite game console, although that does help. The next Tetris takes the standard formula and mixes things up a bit with a few new mechanics. First off, tetrominoes of the same color will combine into one large block, making them a bit more difficult to cascade. While this can make things a bit more difficult, if you combine enough of them they will explode, clearing a large area of the screen. In addition to this, there are also tetrominoes that are a combination of more than one color. Upon safe landing, two different color sections can break apart. While this may not seem like a big deal at first, it really does change the normal Tetris strategy, forcing you to think and plan your moves carefully. These new additions to the game aren't the only things that make it a standout, however. The real draw to this version of Tetris is the multiplayer. Both online and offline split-screen battles are options here, and believe me, they can get very intense. The object is simple: clear the initial blocks on the screen before the other player. And of course, don't let the blocks reach the top of the screen. Clearing multiple rows in succession will cause your opponent's screen to spin wildly, disorienting them and giving you an advantage. Multiplayer Tetris doesn't get much better than this. If you're a fan of the series, don't pass this one up. Ambitious is probably the best way to describe this next game. Armada is a mishmash of two different game genres that you normally don't see mishmashed together. It's an open-world RPG mixed with a shoot-'em-up. I'm not sure if that combination has ever been done before or since the game's release. The game has you freely exploring a limitless universe, completing missions and gaining experience to upgrade your ship. You may have noticed that I said limitless there, and that's not an exaggeration. The game's map is randomly generated and goes on for eternity, very much like our own real-life universe, or so we assume anyway. Simply exploring the vast universe is a wonderful experience. You never know what strange planets or alien creatures you might encounter. They say that in space, no one can hear you scream. Well, that's not entirely true, as you can team up with up to 3 other players in Armada. One of the coolest features of the game is the ability to take your VMU over to a friend's house and bring your ship into their universe. Without a doubt, this is one of the best uses of the VMU I've seen on the Dreamcast. Of course, this feature was a bit of a compromise during the game's development. Armada was originally supposed to be a massively multiplayer online game, but sadly the Dreamcast network wasn't ready in time for the game's launch. A sequel to the game was planned and was to bring the game's original vision to life, but unfortunately it never saw the light of day. Still, Armada is a fantastically unique experience that is certainly worthy of this list. Maximum Pool is one of those games that most people would probably pass on just by the fact that it's a billiards game. While it may not sound that exciting, it's so much more than just your average game of pool. Sure, if you happen to be into billiards in real life, you'll certainly appreciate the accurate physics and plethora of classic game types. But if you want something more to keep your interest, fear not, Sierra Entertainment has you covered. In addition to your run-of-the-mill game types such as 8-ball and 9-ball, Maximum Pool also features some wacky game modes such as Rocket Ball and Mad Bomber, which are modes that you could never play in real life, at least not without calling for an ambulance afterwards. Of course, the real highlight of the game, and probably one of the main reasons it ranks so high on this list, is the inclusion of online multiplayer. While it's definitely a fun game to play on your own, Maximum Pool is a phenomenal game to play online with real players around the world. If you're looking for a fun, casual game where you can just relax and chat it up with some like-minded Dreamcast fans, Maximum Pool is definitely one to check out. If you've been hanging around this YouTube channel for any length of time, then you might have already guessed that this would be the #1 game. Worms World Party is probably one of the most addicting games I've ever played. While it's far from being what I'd consider a pick-up-and-play game, once you learn how to handle the huge variety of weapons and learn the various strategies, you'll surely be hooked. I think the biggest strength of the Worms franchise in general is the fact that no two matches will ever be the same. A massive selection of weapons, randomly generated destructible environments, and a large variety of game modes combine to make a wholly unique experience every time you play. I've been playing this game online on a weekly basis since the servers were brought back online 8 months ago, and I've yet to tire of it. If you've never played a Worms game before, you owe it to yourself to give it a shot. I must warn you that you'll most likely be terrible at this game for a good while, but give it some time and you'll become an addict just like me. And there you have it, folks, 5 of the best Windows CE-based games on Sega's final console. Keep in mind that this is just my own personal top 5, and yours may differ. I'd like to give a few honorable mentions to 4x4 Evolution, Kiss Psycho Circus, and of course Sega's own Sega Rally 2. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for not including that last one, but rally games have never really been my cup of tea. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.